So, for context, my dad is an alcoholic and has been my entire life. We have not had a meaningful relationship since before I went through puberty, and my parents have been separated since I was 14. I am 33 now and married. And at the time this happened, I was 32 and engaged. And my fiance and I were staying with my mom for about a year to help her after she had back surgery and preparing for an additional hip replacement. In March of 2024, my mom had a heart attack brought on by COPD-induced stress. And my dad was with her that day. I told him to tell her doctor that she had been having pain in her back, in the area her bra band sits, which is a common sign of heart attacks in women. Neither of them listened to me, and 8 hours later, my mom was on a vent in the ER and a whole cocktail of drugs to keep her heart rate down. After that, my dad just decided he was going to stay with my mom in her house to help take care of her. Which he did, but my mom has always made it clear, since she left him 19 years ago, that she does not approve of his drinking and refuses to live with or deal with him when he's drunk. And at first, he wasn't drinking at all. But that changed as he got comfortable being there. My husband and I were paying my mom minimal rent, minor utilities, and then groceries, and all of our own personal bills. We contributed, but we were by no means financially providing for my mother. Our support was primarily cleaning, cooking, and keeping her dog active. Dad, however, cooked on Sundays and then just kind of existed there after the first few weeks. He blew up on me on Easter because I had asked him if he moved the 18-quart carton of eggs I had bought to make deviled eggs, and he thought I was accusing him of eating them all. Which he did. But I wasn't mad about it because I was baking a ham, making mac and cheese from scratch, green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, and desserts. I love cooking. One less thing on my to-do list was not something I was upset about. So, there was no anger or accusation on my end. He then accused me of being disrespectful. I set the boundary with him that he wasn't gonna go off on me when I didn't do anything, and told him I hadn't been disrespectful, but he had been when he had blown up my phone while I was at work over some dumb shit, and I told him that the next person who blows up my phone while I'm at work is getting blocked unless my mom is being hospitalized or dying. Period. He had done this a couple weeks prior, and I work with kids on the spectrum. Because of HIPAA, I cannot answer or be on my phone in the vicinity of clients. So, him blowing up my phone for non-emergency stuff is not okay. After that, we just stayed quiet and moved on. Well, one day, my dad comes to my mom's house after being at the bar. He's drunk, and I can tell the second he walks in. My mom immediately went to her bedroom to avoid him. I was just sitting in the living room and watching TV, and my husband was in our bedroom. Well, my dad had bought a meat smoker, and I had asked him if I could use it to smoke a chicken for a work party a few days prior. And I used a disposable aluminum pan that was in the kitchen. The kind you get 2 for $1 from the dollar store. And I also brought them back and washed them. I didn't toss them away because they're reusable. If they got messed up, I would have just replaced them. So, this night, my dad tells me that he can't find the pans I used, and he thought it was messed up how I threw them away after using them. And this leads into my little episode of personal revenge. Me. I didn't throw them away. I brought them home and washed them. Mom put them in the cabinet again. But either way, it's a disposable pan. Him. Don't matter. It weren't yours to throw away. Me. Okay, but again. I didn't. Him. Then where the fuck are they? Me. No idea, but I didn't toss them. Well, he didn't hear what I said, so he stomped his way into the living room to tower over me and yell at me like I was a misbehaving child who should be berated and belittled. I immediately shot up, out of the chair, and shouted at him, "You need to go be drunk somewhere else because, in my face, is not the place to be." So, he started telling me how I was useless and couldn't pay my bills and that I needed to respect him. He did this because my dad knows I have mental health problems and struggled with self-worth for years. Especially after I got myself into a lot of credit card debt because I was depressed and being impulsive and self-medicating with shopping. Which I paid my way out of by myself. Also, I'm in therapy and getting treatment to deal with my problems. But this is what my dad has always done to my mom. He gets drunk and acts horrible and then blames it on my mom or whoever is the easiest target. It was just always my mom because she guarded my sister and I from it as kids. But this time, along with other times after my mom left, it was me. Because I had no self-esteem and just let people bully and walk all over me. And when he towered over me to yell at me, my anger boiled over and I didn't care if it was petty and stupid. I was gonna dress this drunken fuck down. I told him he needed to go back to his house because he didn't live there and I would listen to him when he starts paying more bills than I do. He paid no rent, no utilities, bought groceries only for him but ate ones he didn't buy, and worked full-time making more hourly than myself and my husband, plus side jobs. So, there was no reasonable excuse for him to not be paying his way as well. But has money for booze and gambling. Yes, I understand the psychology of addiction. No, I don't care. He is still accountable for his actions or lack of action. It explains his behavior, it doesn't excuse it. Anyway, he told me that he does pay bills there and I need to shut up and respect him. So, I snapped. You need to go get sober. And he yelled. And you need to go fuck yourself. I laughed at him, loudly, and yelled back, I would, but that's what I have Jay for. Jay is my husband. And my dad was shocked and embarrassed. You could see it on his face. And he stopped talking for the rest of the night. What is the revenge, you may be asking? Embarrassing him in front of his wife and my husband. Because to my dad, disrespect of any form, no matter how minor, in front of anyone, especially when drunk, is basically violating the Geneva Convention to him. My dad has a history of getting drunk and embarrassing or belittling me and my mother. So, making him embarrassed and speechless felt so good. I was so proud of it, I actually told my therapist about it. She told me she didn't condone my engaging in confrontations like that because it could do more harm to me than good, but she admitted that was still an excellent comeback. Also, he went off on my husband before this once and tried to drag me into it when I had nothing to do with the situation. Why? Because he wanted my husband to submit to his authority, of which he has none, because then he feels like a man. I work in behavioral analysis and it's my job to help figure out the function of a behavior someone displays because all behavior is a way of communication. What is the underlying cause of this behavior and what kind of support does this individual need to help them communicate or cope with the issues causing it? And analyzing my dad is pretty easy. He needs to feel like a man, is insecure, and manipulative. He doesn't want to take accountability for his actions, so he belittles and blames and deflects because, typically, taking accountability means working towards changing for the better and he doesn't want to do that. So, going off on him, even if it wasn't super public, was very satisfying for me. Also, just so everyone is aware, my father is not physically violent and never once has or would lay hands on my mother or I, even drunk. And in a slight change of tone, my dad is not a horrible person deep down. I'm obviously venting about one of the worst pieces of him. But he is a bad husband and dad. My dad has been sober for years at a time previously in my life and when he is funny and sociable and we get along fine. Drinking is his choice and his disease and his struggle. And he allows it to amplify the very worst parts of his personality. And I do fully believe that you can be a bad parent or spouse and not be a 100% bad person. Because we all have a bad side. And vice versa. You can be a shit person but a good dad. I don't want to give examples because that's getting into my true crime knowledge and that's not the point here. Also, about a week after this incident, my husband and I both sat down with my dad while he was sober and told him that we wouldn't lecture him on his drinking or anything because that's his business and if he has a problem or something he needs to talk about with one or both of us, he can talk to us. He can express his emotions and frustrations, but he cannot do it when he's drunk because it just ends up with me jumping in and screaming back at him. I won't put up with it and my husband shouldn't have to. He agreed and said he had no problem with that. We didn't have issues between that and my husband and I moving out again. But now my mom is sick of him because once we left, his drinking got even worse, so now she's kicking him out.